Rango. He is a 7-year-old Eurasian Eagle Owl. And these guys are found in Europe and Asia mostly, but also North Africa. So they're a pretty widespread owl species. They're not an endangered species, which is fantastic for the species, right? And they are top tier predators in their natural environment. That doesn't mean that they don't have any predators. Somebody tried to tell me the other day that owls don't have any predators, and I said, that's silly. I'm sure a larger predator than them, especially if they were an injured owl on the ground, but a healthy, flying, capable, healthy, like I said, no problems, young owl is really not going to have a ton of predators, but they might have a few. And they certainly are, always watching out for danger. But typically an owl's main predator are other owls, but this is going to be one of the biggest owls in the world, you guys. So Rango here, let's go back. He actually came to us from a raptor center all the way in Kansas. I actually drove all the way out to get him with a friend of mine, and shout out to Heather for going with me on the trip and helping me drive and just going with me for company. I took a 3-day trip, and he was super worth it. I got to go out and see the Raptor Center. It was beautiful. It's out there on acreage in Kansas. And they do a lot of rehabilitation with birds of prey and some other animals too. I believe it's just birds of prey that they focus on, but I think that they also can do other birds too, if I'm not mistaken, or they at least can take them in and then pass them on to someone else. But they specialize in raptors. So when we talk about raptors, that's hawks, eagles, falcons, kites, all kinds of birds of prey, right? They have talons for hunting. They have curved beaks for eating their prey if it's too big and they can't swallow it whole, because these guys will swallow whole prey. And if it's small enough, but if it's too big of an animal, they will bite it into little pieces with their hooked bill and kind of use their foot to kind of hold it still while they eat it up in pieces. And they are nocturnal, right? These guys are owls and they're nocturnal. Not every owl species is like that. There's a couple that are actually diurnal, like humans or other animals, but this species is nocturnal. And when we talk about raptors, that includes all of those birds of prey. So that center rehabilitates a lot of different species, and they have a lot of different species in their collection. And they had Rango, and they were actually looking to rehome him and just kind of maybe downsize on some of their education birds. So he's not a rehabilitated bird at all. He's actually a captive bred and hand-reared Eurasian Eagle Owl. So he's not a local species, not a great horned owl, although the great horned owl is going to be their closest cousin here in the United States. They are extremely similar species. You looking at the purple void, buddy? I bet you'll get to know that purple void very, very well. We're going to be in here a lot. Look at that beautiful head. That would be his closest cousin right here in the US, is the great horned owl. But great horned owls are about half the size of a Eurasian Eagle Owl. He is one of the largest species in the world, although he is a male and males are smaller than females. A female Eurasian Eagle Owl can reach up to 9.5 pounds. That would be extremely large. They usually average around 7 to 8 pounds at most for a female Eurasian Eagle Owl. And Rango here is about 3.5 to 4 pounds, depending on the day. And we do weigh him every single day in kilograms. And we're trying to figure out his happy weight, his happy working weight, if you will. He is a working bird, so he doesn't get to just be super overweight, and that's not healthy for him anyway. So we are working on getting to know what that might be and discovering what works well for him. So when you talk about bird training in general, they typically, if they're a working bird, like either a flighted bird or a program bird of any kind, a bird that works with humans in a zoo or animal shows, etc., or right here once in a while, we do have to watch their weight to make sure they have a motivated weight, but also healthy, right? We want to make sure he's not too hungry all the time. So it's a nice little balance to figure that out. So since he's brand new to us, we only had him for under 2 weeks. We're still figuring that out, but look how well he's doing for being with us for that little of time. As you can see, he's already used to all of that. Being on glove with humans, he is manned. That's the terminology for that. So falconers use that terminology. Any bird of prey that's used to humans, it's called a manned bird that's used to being on glove. Like you see, I'm wearing a glove. I cannot put him on my bare hand because he would be too powerful and he'd be able to hurt me with his talons, right? So again, one of the largest. There are several other eagle owl species. There's several other owl species that are on the heavy side as well. The great gray owl is an example of an owl that's generally slightly lighter than the Eurasian eagle owl, but the great gray owl is actually taller and longer in length. So it just depends on what you're talking about by size, but he is certainly one of the largest species-wise. But again, the girls are always bigger than the boys. Now, a lot of people ask me why when I used to talk about owls. By the way, he's our first owl here at Once in a While. Super happy to have him in this collection. But I've worked with owls before. This isn't my first owl rodeo. And when we talk about owls and why females are bigger than the males, a lot of people ask me why. They think it's because of the breeding season. So this is really just a theory. We can't obviously get a straight answer from them, like, why are you bigger? Why are you smaller? But the best theory that we have, and I agree with this, is during the breeding season. So owls are typically alone until it's time for the breeding season. And right now, it's actually the time of year in Europe and Asia and North Africa when this species would start looking for mates. So they would hoot, the males would really, and they would call for mates. He's been doing that a lot around here. We've been hearing him hooting every single night, which is super cool. They have a beautiful voice. I don't mind it at all. Just gorgeous. And that will be very attractive to the lady owls, and they will come flying and looking for that handsome guy, and then they will come together for the breeding season. They will raise their babies together. But typically, the females will do all of the nest sitting and egg incubation and taking care of the babies by kind of just being there on the nest. And because there can be a lot of predators looking for baby owls to eat sometimes, she's very, very big. So she can actually, kind of maybe roll and use her talons to strike at that predator to get rid of the predator and defend her babies. And she can just kind of sit there. Oh my gosh, look at that beautiful 4.5 to 5 foot wingspan that you have. I haven't measured yet, but I think he's about a 5 foot wingspan. But yeah, so she's just generally larger to kind of guard the babies and do a lot of work there at home. And the male is a little bit smaller, more athletic, because his job is very important, and that is to hunt for the entire family. Now, I've been told that the species can have anywhere from 2, maybe even 1. So from 1 to 2 to maybe even up to 5 babies in a season. And that's pretty cool. Let's talk about prey. So since this is a very, very large owl species, they actually can eat pretty large prey. So a female owl especially can hunt things like small deer or baby deer, pigs, things like that. They can also hunt, of course, small prey like rats and rabbits. Rabbits aren't really that small, right? And on occasion, they can hunt smaller rodents like mice, or maybe even smaller birds. They eat other birds of prey as well quite often. In fact, they will often snag birds out of the nest in the night when they're sleeping, because the rest of the birds of prey besides owls are usually diurnal like us. They're out in the daytime. What are you looking at? You're awfully curious. So we're not going to be having any snacks on the show. So you can just hold your horses if that's what you're thinking. So he does get fed roughly once a day, depending on if we're doing other training sessions with him. And so far, his favorite seems to be quail and chicks. So that means like day-old chickens. Yes, I said chicks. He's like, yum, where are they? And he eats those whole, but he also gets items like rabbit and rat, and those are typically cut up in pieces for our purposes. He could eat a whole rat, maybe cut it up in pieces on his own. But again, we don't want to overfeed him. We want to make sure he's at that happy working weight that works for us and works for him. They have a very low voice, and it sounds like a ooh, ooh, ooh. Do you speak of your language? What are you looking at, my love? Yeah, so they have the traditional like hooting voice. Not every bird of prey or even owl has a hooting voice, right? Actually, every single owl species has a variant of how they sound. So they sound different. And that is how most people that study owls actually survey them, because they're so good at hiding, especially during the day. You won't even see them. This owl especially is very well camouflaged with all his beautiful browns and golds and his pattern that he has. He's very, very well blended into the forest. Their senses, so sense of hearing is going to be their best sense. And his ears are actually underneath the feathers. They're not what you see on top of his head. On top of his head are just ear tufts. They're kind of like the cockatiel's crest. They can kind of give you expression cues. He will kind of raise them if he's extra alert. He will lower them if he's feeling just relaxed. And right now he's kind of an in-between. He's not really lowering them all the way slick, but you can see those kind of ear tufts. They look like big eyebrows. And that's basically what they are eyebrows for him. They can express him a little, help him express himself a little bit. Right? That also gives him a bit of camouflage. So when they're upright like this, that's going to kind of blend into the foliage of the trees and things. Because remember, this is a big owl, so finding a hollow tree cavity is going to be really hard for them. A lot of other smaller owls live inside tree cavities for safety purposes and also to get out of the rain, because owls have very, very soft feathers, which are pretty much silent when they fly. So they're kind of muffle the sound, and can give him nearly silent flight when he's hunting. Owls are not fast when they fly compared to other birds of prey, so they have to be quiet, and they're hunting in the night, so that makes sense. So anyway, so these guys are going to basically have nearly silent flight. It's not completely silent, but it's nearly silent, and that's because they have such soft feathers. Now, they are very well insulated from weather, so the cold doesn't really bother them. These guys are from northern Asia and also Europe and North Africa, where it can snow and everything else, but it also gets warm. So they're pretty insulated for almost any weather situation. But also they're not waterproof. So they're not like a duck, because ducks are very insulated too. We have ducks here once in a while, right? They're insulated too, but they're waterproof, whereas owls are not. So living inside of a hollow tree or something like that is really going to help out, especially the smaller owls that are already trying to hide from danger, dangerous predators, things like that. All owls hide from danger potentially. They might want to nest inside of a hollow cavity as well. But also, these guys can nest just like in the trees because they're so well camouflaged, and they have those ear tufts to help them kind of hide in the foliage. I hope that makes sense. But as you can see, he's not a wild caught owl. He definitely is used to people. That's what we call a well-manned bird of prey. That means that he is used to the glove. He's used to working. We're just getting to know one another. And he moved all the way down here to Texas to be with us from Kansas. That's a big adjustment for him too, so I'm super proud of him so far. Now, his talons are what they actually kill and hunt their prey with. So once they find their prey via their sense of sight and hearing, excellent vision, by the way. He does not see well in color, or colors well, I should say. But his eyesight is very good nonetheless. They do see a little bit of color, but not as much as a hawk or an eagle, because they're not hunting in the daytime. So they don't really need a ton of color vision, but they do see very well. But after he's found the prey, say it's a rabbit running around or maybe hiding at night, and he's found it, and they fly down silently, nearly silently, muffled, to be able to catch the food. They don't catch it with their face, do you? Do they? Not do you, excuse me, guys. They don't catch the prey with their face like a pelican or something like that. They're going to catch the prey with their feet. They will go feet first into the prey and grab onto their prey, right, with these long toenails called talons. They have very specialized needle-like toenails, which is why I'm wearing a glove on my hand, you guys. Very, very safe to hold them with a glove, but otherwise, no. And they can definitely do some damage. They also have what's called zygodactyl feet. Zygodactyl means 2 toes in the front and 2 toes in the back. If you've ever seen any of our live streams or videos with our cockatiels, those are parrots, or our budgie, which is another type of parrot. Parrots in general also have zygodactyl feet. That gives them a grip in trees and to be able to climb really well and hold food items with their toes. And owls have zygodactyl feet. Can you guys see his feet? They have zygodactyl feet, 2 toes in the front and 2 toes in the back. One of his toes actually can rotate back and forth a little bit to give him a little bit more comfort or a different kind of grip. So it's a little bit flexible there, but technically they are zygodactyl, 2 and 2, and that gives them an even toe grip for catching prey and basically crushing them immediately. And that way they can eat the prey. Now, owls that work in programs, they're pretty used to coming out now and again in the daytime. It doesn't harm him to do that. He gets everything that he needs, so he'll be just fine. So don't you worry. A lot of people wonder about his vision in the light. If it hurts his eyes, it doesn't. So owls are pretty well adjusted to all of that, especially if they're used to it. Alrighty, you guys. Well, it's been a lot of fun. Rango was excellent. He did try to fly off once, but he's attached to me, so that didn't work out for him. But that's actually pretty normal for an owl. But overall, I think he did very, very well. And he's had a long day as well. Like I said, he was on the news earlier this morning too. Look at that on Instagram over here. His eyes look so very orange. And on Facebook and YouTube and Twitter even. I hope you guys enjoyed. We will see you guys next week. Same time, same place. I believe I have a special guest next week. So we'll see what animals we bring on the show with our special guest. And we hope to see you guys next time, guys. Bye-bye.